Okay, so I'm gonna give some tips on these. These are the leg brackets. Trying to get an idea so you can see the welds. Essentially, I do it with this hitbox. I'm gonna show you the settings. Okay, that's the settings I'm using. I use this little jig. I'm gonna tack 2 spots right here. Okay. Pull this off. There's usually a gap there, so I push up on this, and I fuse weld it. Okay. Make sure you're wrapping your corners. Try to bias your weld puddle on the lower tube so you don't wash too much of the edge out of the 1/8 or the 10 gauge flat bar. Okay, I'm gonna weld this one. Again, fuse welding this, and then the only spot I use a filler is for the back side. Just quicker this way. Seal weld it all the way. Okay. And I'm gonna fill this in. Again, being careful not to wash it all out. Okay, so like I said, I'm being careful not to wash this out. So that's about 2.5 minutes an end. So this is the next step after these are all welded. Come over here. I know my measurement is 12 inches to the bottom, so I'm going to set 14 inches to the top. Pushing down. This is the spacer bar. It's like 660 thou. So I just got this stainless bar flipped on its side. And we're gonna grab our middle tube. Everything's been wiped down. Okay. Now we're gonna check it with squareness and flush. Okay. Double check everything before we go and tack it. 12 inches to the bottom, 12 inches to the bottom, 13, 16. That's pretty good. Okay, make sure it's this. Okay. We're gonna tack it. We want to make sure to put big tacks in the corners. The welder's set at the same settings. Get that to see how. So you want tacks in the corners. So when we weld, okay, I'm gonna flip it over. Gonna tack this here. loosen these off, put them to the side. Okay. I'm just gonna go and weld. This one I'm gonna feed the wire in and do a lay wire. Okay.
Where is it? There it is. Okay.
Put a glove on that. And make sure you wrap your corners as much as you can, because it's going to help the next weld. Okay. Get that if you want to get that weld.
Very good.
Okay, now we're going to stand it up on its head and fuse weld these without filler rod. Making sure to wrap the corners really well. If you want to get that. Okay. Oop. Okay, so that's about 5 minutes to fit that up, 5-6 minutes. Okay, just a few things while I've gotten through all of these. I kind of improved the setup. Rather than measure every piece, I just marked a line here so it's more pokey-okey. So when you load your piece in, just go to this, go to that line and then tighten it up, and then put your centerpiece in. Another thing worth noting is if you're gonna do this, after you've, with this here, you can't get the tack in the back. So I just tack the two tops and release this and then flip it over. And I just check for flatness, and sometimes just the way some of these rails are in the center, sometimes you just might have to tweak it by putting something and twisting it. But essentially I just lay it flat. You can see this one's not perfect, but that's okay. But what I do is I'd put something under this and press on that. So that's a couple little things to make it a bit easier. When fitting stuff like this up, I do something like this. I'd weld the whole leg complete, stand on a table to the ground, mark the center here, and then usually what I do is I'd kind of bump this. Okay, see, that looks pretty good. And before you tack this, you want to know which way it's leaning. So when you tack it, so you can see it's leaning actually this way. We want it to come in. So what'll end up happening is if you end up tacking the bottom it could pinch the top, so you want to tack the top. So you want to kind of look as tacks as hinges, but this is kind of something a little bit more advanced than the fixture thing. But usually what I do is I'd hold it, I'd get a good idea, and again, even right here, okay, if you were to tack this and there's a bit of a gap on this, tack this corner, and then that way you can hinge it open over there. But so that's a couple tips for that. After you weld these, this kind of pulls this in, so usually I just get a hammer and tap that. Okay, so it's better to be spread open a little bit because there's pieces in there that'll pull it in. The other critical measurement that I didn't show checking, but this is across the lowest point here. So because if this is cut improperly, then what will end up happening is these will be too tight in when you go and do it with your frame. So, but this is good. So we have these little racks here. This, when they're all fit up, it just prevents them from getting scratched. So when I'm done welding them, I put them here or on a skid, and then these are the done ones. So I'm going to show you how to surfox it now. This one's been done. So here we have our piece. It's all been welded. We have our surfox machine. It's set to AC cleaning marking 3, and the stainless setting is the wand. You always want to just make sure this is cleaned off because sometimes it gets corroded. We got our acid and all this stuff, got our rags, water in here, our neutralizer. So I'm just going to go to town here. Okay. Want to get all the color out of this. And the least amount of heat you put into it, the less color you're gonna have to get out of it, okay? You don't wanna do this on a steel table. Make sure you do it on like wood or this is melamine. You could do it on puckboard or cardboard or wood. Okay. If you haven't watched the video on surfoxing, you can watch it. This is just in relation to the leg bracket here, the leg. Okay. Your best bet's to try to do it where you're not flipping it 10,000 times. Again, this is another check for quality. We're just making sure all the welds are wrapped. Okay. And I'm pumping this as I'm going. Right here, this can kind of be tricky. Sometimes this doesn't come out all the way and you have to, if it's not cleaned properly before, you have to kind of Scotch Brite it a bit. Okay, so this is the acid rag. I'm wiping all the acid off. I'm going to get the neutralizer. Make sure, this is where a lot of people have an issue with it. They don't put enough of the neutralizer on, they don't wipe it off good enough. So this is very important. Take your time. And you don't want to mix rags up. Okay, so keep our acid stuff over there. You don't know which one's water, do you? Okay, well, this one. Okay, so we're gonna wipe the neutralizer off with the neutralizer rag. You wanna make sure you get everything. We're gonna wipe the table up after too. The next step is going to be water. Okay, so now I'm going to get the water, rinse the neutralizer off. And you can see I didn't have to press very hard with that brush or anything. It came off pretty easily. Okay. Try to think about where everyone's gonna look at this too, and make sure you do a really thorough job. Okay. Last step is the lacquer thinner. Okay. Make sure your rag's actually wet. And this is gonna be the point where, like, some pinholes are really hard to see. Even when stainless gets really shiny, some pinholes are hard to see, but more so wrapping around the corners, okay? Sometimes if you get a bit of frosting here, what you can do, what I mean by frosting is sometimes actually there's a good example right there, okay? What you can do, just get a bit of this. Make sure you go with the grain. That's something that's not going to be able to come out with a surfox machine. Okay? So, make sure you go with the grain of the stainless steel. So, okay, that's done. We're going to put it right over here. And keep going. You want to be mindful to kind of come back to this as you're going, because what you'll end up doing is you'll end up seeing if you didn't wipe it down fully. So when you go and do this, one thing you really don't want to do is go in the different directions. So you can see right here, someone's put Scotch-Brite on this and went in the wrong direction. Same thing right here. So make sure you go with the grain.